Howdy there, Isaac here. Himiko Toga. She's the undisputed #1 crazy kawaii waifu of My Hero Academia. I mean, seriously, people can't get enough of the villainess, and since I recently trashed her in my Ranking the League video, I figured I should maybe prop her up a bit. And what better way to do so than giving the gal her own series. Today we'll be seeing what may have happened had this yandere been a bit more of a dere. Okay, we have a lot of groundwork to cover here, so don't mind if I'm a little heavy-handed. Toga would grow up pretty much as she did normally, up until the bird incident where she, drank some of that good old bird blood. Of course, her parents would be horrified and likely put her into some sort of quirk therapy. However, this is where a massive change happens. As anybody who's been in therapy can tell you, each and every therapist is different, with there being people who are good at their job and people who aren't. All this is to say, in this timeline, Toga is paired up with someone way better at their job, as not only do they help her with her quirk, but also as a person. Instead of being told to repress her urge for blood, the therapist would ask if there was anything that could be used as a substitute. And this actually prompts Toga to talk about her love of pomegranates. If you didn't know, in the wiki it states she likes two things, blood and pomegranates, so I'm making use of the info here. And once Toga begins eating the fruit whenever her urge for blood comes, it does help, but at best it's like a ghoul drinking coffee. It's not able to completely get rid of that urge. However, thanks to this, Toga doesn't go quite as crazy as she would normally, due to her urges being far less repressed. Now, about 10 months before the UA entrance exams, Toga's therapist would bring something up, the fact that there were heroes who used both blood and weapons, since Toga did have a fascination with knives, something she developed a little later in life. This did intrigue the girl, who had heard of such heroes, but had never really considered herself as someone heroic. Well, the UA entrance exams are coming up, Toga. And one of the teachers there is the esteemed Vlad King, someone proficient with the use of blood. I hear he's even able to get blood from hospitals due to his high usage of the substance. Perhaps UA would be the perfect place to explore your urges safely. Now this convinced Toga that she could possibly do this. She was a bit hesitant to attempt joining a hero school, especially if she was going to join to use her quirk, something she had only done once or twice, and always ended up with her losing friends. I mean, she had tried so hard to be normal so her parents and friends would love her, despite that not being who she was. Could she really be herself at UA? The therapist gave her a sign-up form for the school as she left his office that day, letting her decide what she wanted. Later on, she went to the park, thinking about her future and what was to come. She was watching the birds hopping around the ground, something she was able to do without her urge taking over now. However, a sudden boom startled the birds, causing them to fly away, which did annoy Toga, since she still didn't like things getting in the way of what she loved. However, as annoyed as she was, the smoke billowing from an adjacent street did catch her attention, enough for her to investigate what was going on. She zigzagged through the crowd of people that gathered to watch, getting to the front and spotting who, more like what, had caused the explosion. Several meters away, a boy, covered in gross slime, was struggling to get free, shooting off large explosions that caused the nearby buildings to catch fire. Toga was rather intrigued, as while the boy wasn't super cute, he had been a little hurt, which caused her eyes to be transfixed on him. Only moments later, another boy, dressed in similar clothing, ran out, heroically throwing his backpack at the slime creature and clawing at it to release his, assumably, friend. Now this boy, he was something else. While he wasn't hurt, he was pretty cute. He kinda resembled the boy at her school, and while she didn't value heroics, there was something about his actions that made her want to meet him. Now, All Might would come in and do his thing, Deku would be reprimanded for his actions, and everybody would have gone home. Well, everybody except for Toga. See, she is far less insane, but she does sort of follow Deku home, though the only reason she doesn't outright talk to him is due to anxiety, much of which stemming from previous stints at trying to make friends. Eventually, only moments before Bakugo could get to him, Toga would finally force herself out of hiding and run over to the boy she now admired. Hey! She yelled out. Huh? Who are you? Izuku whipped around, confused as to why someone was talking to him, and a girl at that. Not gonna lie, I think this is the first time a girl has talked to him that isn't his mother. Anyways. Hey, I saw what you did back there, and I thought it was super cool. Do you want to be a hero? Now, Izuku was initially shy, but like most shy nerds, once his passion came up, he began talking at high speeds about it. And Toga, being someone who understands what it's like to love something and want to talk about it, listened patiently, considering it super cute that he loves heroes so much. Now, this pissed Bakugo off since he was still nearby and, well, All Might was also hiding and waiting for Izuku to stop talking, so much so he actually turned back into Small Might. Actually, while Izuku and Toga were talking, both Bakugo and All Might would just be awkwardly standing in alleyways just thinking, oh come on, he has to stop talking eventually. However, to their astonishment, Izuku would talk about heroes for nearly 30 minutes, until Toga eventually caught out the fact he never answered her original question. Does he want to be a hero? He would meekly look down, rubbing his hands together. Well, you see, my quirk, well, I don't... His voice trailed off, with Toga unable to tell what he said. You can't control it, huh? I know what that's like. Toga sat down on the curb, hugging her knees as she looked down at the ground, before an idea went through her head. While Izuku was stammering, trying to fix the mix-up, her eyes would light up as she'd quickly stand and grab his hand, something that caused Izuku to turn beet red. Could I show you something? From one quirk weirdo to another. Between the puppy eyes Toga had and his hand being held, Izuku couldn't possibly say no. Yes! Now, my therapist always told me to ask first, so can I have a drop of your blood? Toga asked, quickly pulling out a needle and pointing it at Deku's finger. Now this did cause the boy to hesitate, but his curiosity had been piqued. What kind of quirk did this girl have? He had heard of weird quirks before, plenty of heroes had them, but blood? He only knew of one hero that used blood, so this was interesting. He nodded and winced a bit as his finger was pricked, only to instantly melt as Toga leaned in and sucked the blood from his finger. Ah! What are you doing? That's almost like an indirect Izuku was too shy to finish his sentence, but this was enough to cause Toga to stop, realizing, yeah, normal people didn't exactly do that with others they just met. Meanwhile, in the alleyway, Bakugo was cursing this Toga girl. He had wanted to be Deku's first indirect kiss. All kidding aside, he's also intrigued, peeking around the corner to see what'll happen. Much to everyone's surprise, there was now a second Deku in the alleyway, though his clothing was a bit bulky due to Toga's clothes underneath. The transformation only lasted a minute or two, but it was enough to get Izuku excited about the prospect, instantly taking out his journal and jotting down notes while asking Toga a million questions about her quirk. The two did notice the sun was slowly setting and decided to go their separate ways, only after Toga slid into his DMs though, which Small Might thanked the gods for, since he was really getting tired of waiting in the alley. As Toga went home, she thought about how someone had finally accepted her, weird blood quirk and all. She came home in a much more cheery mood than usual, thinking about the conversation she had with Izuku, namely about his dream to go to UA and become a hero. She pulled out the paper her therapist had given her and began to fill it out, doubly so once Izuku texted her and confirmed he was going to take the entrance exam. The next 10 months would be filled with training for both Izuku and Toga. While the two didn't spend much time together, Toga had noticed Izuku's gains, and so she decided to train the only way she knew how. Due to her being rather acrobatic, it's sort of my headcanon that Toga took gymnastics or took part in some acrobatic sport, possibly even martial arts, due to her insane knife skills. Either way, the last trained her abilities in this 10-month span, occasionally meeting with Deku in public spaces to hang out and talk about their plans once they got into UA. However, one day, a week or so before the exams, Toga would ask Izuku a very important question. "I'm pretty strong, but I think you're a little stronger than me now, so could I use your blood in the exams? If I'm not strong enough to pass, well, then I can transform into you and easily do whatever we're supposed to in the exam. My speed, your strength, nobody could beat that." Izuku was a bit hesitant, especially since it could be seen as cheating, but Toga whipped out those puppy eyes and he just couldn't say no. After securing a vial of blood from Izuku, the two went their separate ways, wishing each other luck in the upcoming exams. A week would go by with Deku clearing the trash beach and Toga increasing her own strength. Slightly though, as she never wanted to get muscles, as she thought that wasn't so cute. Either way, the day of the entrance exams would come, with the two arriving at the exact same time. As they walked to their lecture hall, Izuku would trip and fall as usual, except this time both Toga and Ochaco would go to help him. This caused the two to look at each other, Toga initially giving the girl a menacing look, only for it to soften as she spotted how cute she was. "Oh, I'm sorry, I see you got him, Ochaco instantly backed off, releasing her quirk while turning to walk away. Thank you, Izuku managed to blurt out, this time actually being able to talk to girls like a normal human being. While the broccoli-haired boy was content to let Ochaco walk off, Toga grabbed his hand and rushed over, sparking up a conversation with the girl. While the blonde did think she was cute, she also wanted to make some more hero friends, and while she liked Izuku, she really wanted some girlfriends. Surprisingly, Ochaco was pretty nice and talkative, although, like Izuku, she had a serious side when it came to the upcoming exams. Funnily enough, the three would be assigned to the same battle area, the three becoming friends as they got ready and walked over to take out some robots, which does catch the attention of a certain Ida, who's attempting to focus but can't due to the fact that these three are talking and laughing, even right outside the arena entrance. "Hey you three, can you stop talking and act serious? I've tolerated your rudeness for far too long." "Oh Ida, you shouldn't have done that." While Izuku and Ochaco are apologizing, Toga walks up to the nerd and flicks his forehead. "The only rude thing here is you trying to tell us to shut up." This caused the two to get into a spat, one which Izuku and Ochaco tried to interrupt, but this battle of wills would go on right up until the alarm sounded. Right as it did, Toga would hop up, using Ida's shoulders to launch herself over the crowd and into the arena. "Come on, Izuku-kun, let's ditch this nerd and win this thing." Izuku and Ochaco would perform about as well as they did in the anime, while Toga, well, she did impressively well. Once she noticed none of her hits could get through the robot's metal, she found the remains of one, ripping its metal off to make some makeshift knives, something she was very familiar with. From there, she began aiming at the weak points in the robots, practically decapitating a few of them. Funnily enough, she didn't even need to use Deku's blood. Speaking of the lad, he'd still break his body saving Ochaco, though this time Toga is there to help catch him. She did run away initially, but once she noticed Izuku running towards the giant robot, she had to chase after him. So he really couldn't control his quirk, huh? The blonde made Izuku as comfy as she could until Recovery Girl arrived and kissed him, something that made Toga kinda jealous, but she didn't say anything. The students go their separate ways, with Toga checking up on her friend later that day, and I think Izuku would actually express his disappointment at not scoring a single point. However, Toga, being the supportive person she is, says that if they didn't accept someone who saved a person, then that school wouldn't deserve him anyway, which does make the broccoli-haired boy feel a little better. Some time goes by and both Toga and Izuku get accepted, much to the surprise of their parents. See, something I haven't brought up is the inclusion of Toga's parents. They don't exactly hate her as they did originally, but they are aware that she still has urges and considers odd things to be normal, something they don't approve of. They did allow her to participate in the UA exams, but never even considered she could actually pass. Now, for the first time in her life, Toga's parents are showering her with love and attention, but something's wrong. The blonde notices that while her parents are complimenting her, they're mostly saying it was due to their actions, saying they always knew she could do it, she was their daughter after all. And once that was over, they began planning ways to make Toga's hero success benefit their family and company, stating she'd be the new face of their company, something that Toga tried to say she didn't want, but got ignored. While she was happy that her family finally accepted her, it was incredibly hollow and made her a little more depressed than happy. She went to bed that night, wondering if she really should become a hero. Eventually the first day of school would come, with Toga and Izuku walking there, talking about what they hoped it would be like. I'm excited, although I kinda hope Kacchan and Ida aren't there. Izuku rubbed the back of his head, Toga remembering who they were. Oh, those bullies? Don't worry about them. They'll have to answer to me before getting to you. Toga looked at her nails, Izuku noticing they had been sharpened, which did give him a little chill. The day would go as it usually did, with Ida realizing he was a jerk, Bakugo being angry, and everybody else being pretty chill. However, there is something I have to mention. Mina Ashido, the pink girl, is no longer present in the class. In fact, she was never accepted to UA, or even tried to get in, for that matter. The butterfly effect is a fickle thing, but don't worry, we'll be seeing more of her later. Overall, Toga's inclusion at UA doesn't change much within the first couple episodes, aside from her making friends with Ida and maybe Sue, since she had called her cute in the Force Raid arc. Izuku is still having trouble with his quirk, while Toga is slowly getting used to hers. See, her quirk relies on blood, but since she is in the hero course now, I believe she'd finally be given clearance to obtain blood from a blood bank, allowing her to carry vials of it during the combat training episode. Toga picked several interesting vials, ones she thought would really trip up whoever her opponent was. Now, the battle between Izuku and Bakugo goes like it usually does, although Toga is pretty pissed that Bakugo hurt her crush, so, she kind of planned to give him some payback later. But after that, things progress as they normally do, until Toga's battle. She'd be paired up with Aoyama, fighting against Kota and Sato. While I would like to say this is an interesting battle, Toga mollywops that team. She rushes in, putting on her mask, the 3 vials she has already feeding blood into her mouth. Using her spy skills, which aren't as great as in canon but still good, she finds Sato, Kota, and the bomb, even before Aoyama does. She runs in, confident she can take these 2. Sato lunges forward, attempting to swing at the girl, only for her to suddenly transform into a large hulking man. Toga, with this new body, is able to block Sato's punch before throwing him out of the room and rushing over to touch the bomb. Kota does try to stop her, but freezes up once he sees the predatory look in her eyes. This does get the attention of her classmates, as they are initially disgusted by her blood ingestion, but the way she uses it is ingenious. Before anyone starts typing, you have to realize Toga is a genius and prodigy. She's the youngest member of the league, and despite her fairly weak quirk, she's able to keep up with everyone around her. She's a prodigy, no matter how you slice it, and with Izuku at her side, I see no reason why she couldn't find interesting uses for her quirk. Once again, as things progress, nothing really changes. Ida becomes president, Momo is vice president, the school gets invaded by the press, and Ida shows off his leadership skills. However, once USJ rolls around, things begin to heat up. Everyone gets into their hero costumes, and when Toga sees Izuku's new suit, well, she is floored. Now, while Ochaco is still kinda into Izuku, everyone can tell that Toga clearly has a thing for him. Everyone except Izuku, that is, since, this is still a shonen. Toga, being uncharacteristically shy, notes that Izuku's hero costume looks cool, to which Izuku says hers does too, which causes her to turn red. The students get to USJ and the villains arrive like they usually do, spreading the class across the area, much to Toga's annoyance. Of course, right when the villains attack and Izuku needs her, they get separated. The blonde had been left with Kurogiri and the others, but she needed to get down to Izuku and help him out. She put her blood mask on and plugged in a special vial she had been keeping. She had hoped to save it for later, but she needed to finish off this dumb Kurogiri guy ASAP. Toga, while nobody was looking, took off her costume and began transforming, grabbing the only thing she needed, a single knife. But that's where we're going to leave it all for right now. If you guys enjoyed this part, I'd appreciate it if you stabbed that like button or maybe even transformed the subscribe button. Even then though, thank you for getting to the end of the video. I really appreciate you guys. Hope you have a good day or night wherever you are. That's it for now. Bye bye.